just caught my attention. It says, my boyfriend wants us to fly first class while my son sits alone in coach. Some say her boyfriend's got a bad altitude. Oh, God. Jesus Christ. A woman 33 posted on Reddit, am I the asshole to gauge opinions about whether or not it's okay if she and her boyfriend of 5 years sit in business class while her 13-year-old son sits alone in coach? And commenters were mixed. Well, first of all, if I was commenting on Reddit, and I'm not, but if I was commenting, I'd be like, well, first of all, you shouldn't even be dating a single mom, number one, because, when we talk about her kid, as far as I'm concerned, her priority is supposed to be to her kid. So if you're flying first class, well, first of all, if she had any self-respect, this wouldn't even be a question. So if the three of you are going first class, that's the only way this works, because you're such a cleanup bro and a simp that now you've got to spend all this extra money to get her and him into first class. So this shouldn't even be coming up. You shouldn't be dating this chick, and she should have enough self-respect to not be dating you. But I guess obviously this is not what it is, and she just wants to be up in first class, and she has to actually ask whether or not her son should be up there. Because I'll tell you like this, if it's me, I'm gonna be up there in business class or first class, and I'll try not to wet your shoes when I'm sipping my champagne, and some of it may spill because of turbulence. I'll try not to get any of it rolling down the aisle in your shoes. So anyway, it says the mom explained that the flight would be 9 hours. Jesus. And even though her boyfriend, 40, makes significantly more money than her, of course he does, they split the vacation costs as well as her son's expenses. If you split the vacation costs and your son's expenses equally, then why isn't he in first class? Anyway, the problem is he does not want to let my child on to the same class on the plane as us. Now what self-respecting woman would continue dating this dude if he's quote-unquote not treating your son as if your son is his? You see, this is why you shouldn't be a cleanup bro. But these are the cleanup bros. These are the issues that the cleanup bros have to face. All right, so anyway, he thinks my child should be grateful to be getting on an international trip and just enjoy the movies and whatever other amenities there are on the flight, she wrote in the post. She also added they can pop up and visit us whenever in business class, and that it's not worth the extra cost, even if he were a millionaire. What? Wait. Now, coming from his point of view, first class is extraordinarily expensive now. First of all of these domestic airlines suck. You're probably never going to catch me on Spirit or Frontier or any of that shit. You're probably never going to see me on one of those. But what I will say is domestic air travel sucks. I love traveling to Asia using Asian airlines because they just have a style of their own. They have a perfect culture on the plane. And when I travel, it's like if I was traveling and I had children with me, we'd all be riding in economy, because there's no way, where I do see his point, I wouldn't be paying that kind of money to put this kid in first class. No way. Because the bottom line is, granted, listen, there's super rich people out there, but you'd be surprised. A lot of super rich people, they don't fly in first and business. A lot of super rich people actually fly economy, but because you don't know who they are and they keep it quiet, it's like they fly in economy. And some of these people are penny pinching, and some of these people are so cheap, they don't even treat themselves. Either that, or they would rather take that money and invest it another way, which I totally understand. But I do see his point. Here's the thing. Like, if you watch my video, I made one of Emirates first class. Well, no, I'm sorry. I made one of Emirates business class, and I made one of Philippine Airlines business class, right? Most of the money that's going to that flight is obviously because you're getting a bigger, better seat, for one, and they can't fit as many people in those rows. It's usually like 1 by 2 by 1, or it's 2 by 2 by 2, depending upon what plane you're on. But the bottom line is, most of the money is spent in alcohol and dining on demand. Now, why would you have a kid up there? First of all, he can't have any alcohol. He can't, because, and you know, it's so funny. Some of these flights, some of these kids actually look like young adults. And sometimes the stewardesses forget that these aren't of age drinkers. And the stewardesses try to pour them champagne, and the parents are like, hey, you know, this is not an adult, it's a kid. So first of all, the alcohol is such a huge expense. When I went over there to Maldives and I went over there to Dubai last time, I tried to drink them out of house and home. I was knocking back Grey Goose vodka. I was drinking Moet and Chandon like it was no tomorrow. I was knocking out entire bottles of that shit. The chick I was with, she's doing the same damn thing. I was up there pouring the cocktails and everything. At one point, I was having fun. I was just spilling champagne on her. Bottom line is, your kid's not going to be able to enjoy that. So what's the point? It's like, you're not getting lobster tails. It's like you're a kid. It's like, what are you doing here? It's like, no. If you're going to fly and you're going to fly with children or a family, no. Everybody should be in economy class. Now, if you're flying by yourself, yeah, that's when you can pamper yourself. You be in business first. But so that this doesn't even become an issue, all of you should be in economy. But that's the way I see it. So she also nodded that they can pop up and visit us. Oh my God. She's like, oh yeah, well, don't worry, son. Mommy's in business class, but you can come up and visit anytime you want. Are you kidding me? And she can pop up in business class, and that it's not worth the extra cost, even if he were a millionaire. That's hilarious. The mom said she finds it weird to sit apart from her child. Of course you find it weird. That's your kid. Your kid, by the way. I'd probably prefer to downgrade my flight if my boyfriend is unwilling to split that specific cost. He thinks I'm being weird for wanting to make that concession, and it's not a big deal for a child to fly alone. So, was I being an a-hole, or am I being a helicopter and stressing over something silly? Well, I believe that you're being extremely selfish, and I believe that you shouldn't be dating this guy because, first of all, this isn't his kid. He obviously doesn't care enough about this kid to let him come up there in first class. Obviously, it's like you're definitely an a-hole. Definitely. It says he absolutely wants to enjoy the business class for himself. Of course he does, for the long haul on a nice plane. Now, they're only doing 9 hours. When I get on these Asian planes, I'm doing, just 13 hours to Dubai, and then it's like another 4 hours to Seychelles or Maldives. If I go to Bora Bora on, Air Tahiti, that shit is like 20 hours, and that's 3 different planes. So, of course he wants to enjoy it, but you guys are just doing it for 9 hours. You can't be in economy for 9 hours? It's like... Anyway, obviously he doesn't love you, obviously, or that kid. He damn sure doesn't love that kid. So anyway, it says, she assured Redditors that her partner spends time with her son frequently and has spent plenty of resources on birthdays. Yeah, he just won't let him get on the plane in first class, right? Uh-huh. Every now and then, I've had to stick up for one or the other, but I feel like that's to be expected with blended families. Is that what they're calling them now, blended families? So really? There were some Redditors who had stuff to say about it. So one person says, no way in hell would my parents have ever paid for us to fly business class. Now, I'll say it like this. If it was my parents and those seats are expensive and it's both my biological parents, obviously, yeah, they might have stuck me behind them in economy, but they probably wouldn't have put me so far back that they couldn't see me. But even if they did, it's like, at least those are both my parents and they made this decision together. This guy is not the parent. This guy is just hitting on that mama and he's being a cleanup bro. And he's drawing the line. He's like, yeah, I'm not letting you up here in business class or first class or whatever it is. I'm not paying the extra money. Now, the mother should have pulled some money out herself and said, I'll handle Billy's seat. And I'll pay for it. But that's not what happened. Somebody else says, I can't imagine sitting apart from my kids now, but they're 9 and 7. When they're teenagers, I think I'd ditch them for a free upgrade too. You see, some of these parents are terrible. This one says, he's a teenager, not a little kid. he's going to have his earbuds in and snooze the whole time anyway. No. He's going to be sitting back there crying. And he's going to be sitting back there thinking, they don't love me. No. My mom doesn't love me enough to force him to make me get into business class. That's what he's going to be doing. It says, I agree that the cost of the business class experience would be wasted on him. Plus, once you fly first class, it's hard to cram yourself into the back of the plane in the future. Maybe that's something you work up to when you get a job and you can pay for it yourself. And I agree with that, but the thing that I have a problem with is that the mother herself doesn't pony up the extra cash, or that this dude is seriously going to do that. If I was him, I would have all three of us sitting together in economy. But then again, I'm not a cleanup bro, and I would never be dating this chick. So, I guess I can't say much. But, yeah, I don't know if you saw this story, but New York Post, I swear to God, New York Post has been getting extremely aggressive with their internet stories. And fortunately, this is actually one of our papers here, along with the Daily News, which is a snore to read now. But the New York Post has been getting very, very, very aggressive. And as you can see, they're posting more and more better stories lately. And they're not clickbait, which I'm actually surprised about. So, I think that's a pretty decent story right there. I don't know what you would do, but your chances are you'll probably make a comment about this story later on. I made this video specifically because I wanted to talk just a little bit about the market. As you can see, the Dow Jones is at 34,575. Microsoft is still doing well in the green. NVIDIA, all of my base stocks, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Apple, and AMD, Amazon, Google, oil and gas stocks, Tesla, NVIDIA, what else? Micron. Most of them are doing pretty well. As you can see, there's been a sell-off in Apple. Usually that happens directly after they do an event. And to tell you the truth, I didn't say enough of it yesterday when I made a video about the Apple event. That event was boring. And it's funny because there was a Yahoo story, and they were talking about that too. They were saying that, it really wasn't significant to watch. When Apple used to do events, when they were bringing new products to market, and I think that's one of the biggest problems. You remember how Apple, when they used to, and talk about a new product or new iPhone, you remember how they had that part, one more thing? Like, what happened to the just one more thing part? Like, I was expecting a just one more thing. There's no just one more thing. They came out earlier this year. They're talking about the Apple Vision Pro headset. $3,500 for some VR goggles, basically, or AR goggles, whatever you want to call them. And, fine. So it's $3,500, but now you're telling me that the things aren't going to be ready till next year? It's like, why would you even make this announcement now? Why don't you just announce it in September? It's like, I could have imagined that being their just one more thing, and that would have been really interesting, but, that would have been like, in and of itself, that probably would have been an extra 30 minutes of watching. But that's the problem. It's like, at this point, they're only making incremental upgrades to most of their products. And for the most part, it's evolutionary, not revolutionary. Now, people can criticize Apple all they want. I love my iPhone. I will upgrade my iPhone when they have 2 terabytes of storage. I have a 14 Pro Max, 1 terabyte. I can skip the 15, and I will wait until they have 2 terabytes. That's when I'll buy another one. As long as this phone is working the way it works perfectly. I don't play games on it. I use it for just about everything else. But no, that's the main thing I want. I want more storage. So at this point, unless they make a whole new product, which I doubt they're going to be able to, it's like, for right now, it's like all they can do is improve storage. So Apple had a sell-off, but they're not worried. I mean, Apple is still worth, what is it? What's their market cap? Apple's still worth freaking, what is this? What's their market cap? $2.724 trillion. So basically, they're still up there in the $3 trillion range. Google, Amazon, Tesla, all of them are doing well. AMD's doing good. I told you about Micron, and I'm going to keep on reminding you. I told you about Micron. I was telling you about Micron 3 months ago before NVIDIA started popping off. And once they started popping off, both NVIDIA dragged everybody up. Micron's up. Intel's slightly up. Intel was $33. Now it's 38. And I kept telling you, you got to get into these chips. The chip market is everything. The chip market, when they make you buy an electric stove, when they make you buy an electric laundry dryer, a digital laundry dryer, everything's going to be freaking chips everywhere. Just chips everywhere. I told you this. And now you see Micron is going up $10. Had you bought into Micron when I told you to buy into Micron, every single share you bought would have been up $10 right now. Same thing goes for Intel. You'd have been up at least $5 in Intel. But I understand a lot of people don't have the extra money to, throw around on stocks right now, so I'm not going to hold that against you. What is this? Oil stocks has generally, as you can see, been up in general. Oil peaked right when Russia and Ukraine went to war, as you can see right there by the peak. And then when Biden started emptying out the strategic petroleum oil reserve to lower gas prices in order so people wouldn't tar and feather the Democrats during that election year, well, the government manipulation has brought prices down a little bit, but the prices are still gradually trying to sneak back up. You have GM is still $33, and they're way off from the $60, which they should have been at. But as time goes on, because right now the automakers are actually having a lot of issues. They still have supply chain issues. They're having a tremendously hard time trying to make the movement over to electric. They're facing UAW strike and whatnot. So, yeah, they're having a hard time right now. Then you get down to the crypto market. The crypto market is a joke, even though right now parts of it are in the green. The values are way down from where people expected them to be. XRP is below 50 cents. It's still below 50 cents after a week. Shiba, Doge. People put their hard-earned money into this stupid shit. And, what do they got? What do they got? They thought they were going to be on the moon. They ain't on no moon. They ain't on the moon. They're right here on Earth. They ain't on no moon. They ain't on Jupiter. They ain't on Pluto. They ain't nowhere. So it is what it is. I'm not going to harp on it. Berkshire Hathaway has continued to make me happy. As you know, I own Berkshire B. I don't have A. In order for you to really get into A, you would have had to be a millionaire. You'd have had to get into it in the 90s. But Berkshire, $557,000 per share. Damn. So the only hope I have is that the investment and hype into A continues to drive B upwards. That's all I can really hope. But I own a nice chunk of Berkshire B because during the pandemic, when people pulled out of the market, I was able to buy it on sale. What else do we have here? Anything else significant? I don't really see anything significant. The electric vehicle companies in general, I'm not worried about because, again, it's about the long run. They're going to be on a roller coaster ride for a while. The airlines, however, are ridiculously cheap right now. The problem is the airlines are not profitable. JetBlue, for example, JetBlue was hovering around $10. Now it's half that. It's $4.92. So Delta Airlines is $39. Delta Airlines usually has they usually have a strong share price, but right now United, American, Delta, and JetBlue, they're way down. But the airlines are hurting. That's obvious. They're not profitable right now. Jet fuel is going up in price because fuel in general is going up in price. So, again, they're not very profitable. Prices are high to fly around. And, again, the American airlines are terrible. If there was a way that anytime I ever needed to fly anywhere, I could fly on Emirates or Asiana or anything else but an American air carrier, believe me, I'd beat her. Because I don't even, I think one of the last domestic flights I took was to fly to Denver, Colorado. It sucked. I took a flight to Dominican Republic on JetBlue. It was like being on a bus. Yeah, I don't even think I had. There was like no TV screen or nothing. It was like they didn't even want to give you food. It was like peanuts and a soda, and that was like it. When I was a kid and I flew with my grandmother down to like South Carolina, this was a long time ago. It was like Delta. What you'd get like a meal and shit. Like you get a nice meal and everything, and it looked presentable. It was just nice to fly back then. It's like now it sucks. It's like I don't want to be on any American domestic carriers at all. I just don't. But let's see. Anything else? Yeah, the oil stocks, which I'm pretty much going to talk about. Like the oil stocks are back up, so the oil is doing pretty well. It may look like it's red, but a lot of that's just government manipulation. In general, oil is up, gas is up, and whatnot. The banks are also doing pretty well in general. J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo, Capital One, Bank of America. It looks like they're in the red right now because a lot of, you got some people who aren't paying their bills on time and everything, but don't worry about that. The banks pay solid dividends and they're going to be around for a long time, if not forever. I can't foresee anything taking out the large banks. The small banks get taken out by like subprime lending. These large banks, they ain't going nowhere. So yeah, here you got more gas stocks. These pay dividends and whatnot. Basically, I keep these things on my iPhone Quick View because first, I don't even really think about the share price anymore because I make dividends off of so many of these things until I'm getting paid. So I don't really think about the share prices. You don't have to worry about share prices until you want to sell. When you're ready to sell and you need, like, if you need money or something, that's when you worry about it. Right now, I just let the dividends roll, baby. And that's just how it is. So Logitech is at $70. I had told you to get in when it was $50. Logitech went up to $100 and it's fallen back after the pandemic was over, which is to be expected because people aren't working at home anymore, so they're less valuable, I'd say. Other than that, is there anything else here? AMC is moving itself back up. GameStop is still way down since that short squeeze. Keep in mind, AMC did a reverse stock split. I think it was 10-1 if I'm not mistaken. So that's why it looks like the share price is up, which for the most part, it's actually relatively low compared to what it should be. But, AMC's basically got a bankrupt business model. They're losing money. They're not as profitable as they need to be. Visa, MasterCard, they pay dividends. They're good to have. MasterCard has gone up from what was like, I was telling you to buy it when it was like $300. So as you can see, they're doing pretty well here. They're doing pretty well. They're at the top of the market right now. And it's funny because I listened to some of these YouTubers and they were talking about shorting MasterCard, and I was like, no. They pay a nice dividend, them, American Express, and Visa. And their share prices have continued going up because these people are using these credit cards. It's like, I wouldn't short MasterCard. What are you kidding? Like, sometimes I listen to these YouTubers and I'm like, yo, I just don't, I can't agree with them. It's like I think they're way off in certain cases. But, it is what it is. So, anything else here? Lowe's, Home Depot. Yeah, these are dividend payers. They're pretty good, 2.5. But the thing about it is, it would have been better for you to have gotten them a while ago, like during the pandemic. Because if you had gotten them during the pandemic, you could have gotten into Home Depot at $66. I'm sorry, that's Lowe's. You could have gotten into that one at $66. You could have gotten into Home Depot at $152. Damn. But that's the thing. And I'll say this. Right now, you should be saving as much cash as you could possibly save. Me personally, I'm saving as much cash as I can save. I'm going to get that electric car. When I do, and gas is no longer a concern or an issue, I'm going to take the extra money that I have and I'm going to continue to invest in the market, buying more and more dividend pay shares. You should be saving as much money as you can possibly save. I don't think this housing market is going to crash. Now, there's a lot of people who believe that based on, historical models that it should crash. It's not gonna. The values of these houses are inflated considerably. The interest rates are high. Now, normally when interest rates go up, the values come down because of supply and demand. There's more demand, and that causes less supply. And oppositely, if there's more supply, that means that there's less demand. And if there's less demand, the prices go down. Our problem is there's high demand for homes. There's high demand for apartments. The builders aren't building single-family homes. They're building multi-unit dwellings because they get more profit off of those. So they get more profit renting than they do building single-family homes. A single-family home, at this point, you're talking about more than $500,000. You don't make as much money off of that. I don't think the housing market's going to crash. However, just in case I'm wrong, you should be saving up as much cash as possible. And if you don't have real estate already attached to your name, you should be getting into real estate. You should be saving as much money as possible. If there is another stock market crash, you want to be getting into the most valuable companies when their shares go on sale. I keep thinking back to March 2020, and I personally paid a visit to TD Ameritrade at the time. And I saw these old dudes online with checks in their hand, scared, taking their money out because of COVID. And I was like, you know what? This is the time to buy. And that's when I saw oil go negative, I was like, yeah, I got to get as much of it as I can. When I saw these banks going negative and these banks losing money and bleeding, I was like, yeah, I got to get as much as I can. Saving as much cash as possible gives you a chance to put your cash into the best of the best companies when they go on sale. Now, I know some people want to put their money in cryptocurrency, but as you can see, that's not working out so well. So my recommendation is that you're focusing on dividend-paying stocks in the best of the best companies, the multi-trillion-dollar companies, even the trillion-dollar companies, the multi-billion-dollar companies, anything over 500 billion. Obviously, they're doing something right, especially if they're keeping themselves in the green. So cash makes you powerful at this point. The only downside is keeping it in the bank, you ain't getting that much interest. I don't really, I see some people who talk about these online savings banks and stuff. I don't trust most. If I can't drive down the block and go to the bank and get my money anytime I want it, I don't trust these things. I'm sorry. But it's, that's your choice. It's up to you. They offer very high percentage rates and paybacks, but I'm not feeling some of those online banks. I'm just not feeling them. So, but again, it's up to you. It's your choice. You can do what you want with your money. You can put it in bonds if you want. It's up to you. But I like to have my money liquid I like to have a large portion of it liquid. So this way, if I see something that I really, really want, and I think it's like a very, big opportunity, it's like I can do what I want to do. But it all depends on how you handle your money. So that's basically what I had to say about this portion of the market. Now, I absolutely have to mention oil stock because I've obviously noticed, and you've probably noticed, gas prices are way up. I think depending upon where you are, you're probably paying about $3.50 to $3.75 per gallon for regular unleaded, while you're most likely paying between $4 and $5 for premium. I don't know what they charge for the middle grade because most of the gas stations that I go to, they don't have middle grade. They either charge for premium or they charge for regular. But as you can see, gas prices are way up. Oil prices, oil discovery, oil mining stocks, they're all up. Now, I know that this heat map looks red, but it's only red right now. And if you notice, these things didn't really drop very much. Most of them only dropped a few percentage points. But the reality is, and these are the exact same oil stocks that I purchased when the market went negative, and I made a lot of money off of them when I actually sold them at the height. That was back when Russia had invaded Ukraine. That sent our gas prices like above $6, above $7, depending upon where you were. If you were in California, if you were in New York, Texas, depending upon where you were, gas prices were over $6 a gallon. So I figured that once the government under Biden, because let's just be honest, what Biden has done is he's used up the Strategic Petroleum Oil Reserve. What that basically is it's a bunch of empty caverns in mountains. And what they do is they keep oil in those caverns, right? So that's supposed to be Strategic Petroleum Oil Reserves. So what he did was, in order to make sure that the Democrats didn't get themselves destroyed in November, what he did was he made sure that they used the Strategic Petroleum Oil Reserve in order to, how should I say, soften the blow to consumers. Now, they were using that Strategic Petroleum Oil Reserve strategically, politically, to keep his ass out of the fire and to keep the rest of these Democrats in their jobs. Now, we already know what Republicans look like when they're running the government when it comes to energy prices. We already know what Donald Trump looks like when he's running energy. We already know what the Republicans look like. They focus on oil discovery. They focus on mining, hydrofracking, so forth and so on. Just like Russia, just like China, just like every other country, Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, so forth and so on. So the bottom line is, it should have been illegal to do what Biden did, but just like offering people money, offering people student loan repayments, basically all he's done in his presidency is bribe, bribe, bribe. That's basically what he's done. And I'll tell you this, if McCarthy and the rest of those Republicans, if they're having impeachment inquiries, it really should be for bribery. As far as I'm concerned, I honestly don't care about Hunter Biden and the crack cocaine. I don't care about Hunter Biden and the laptop. No. They should be getting him for bribery, for bribing the public for votes. But I don't think that's going to happen because, as you know, the laws in this country are out of whack. I mean, we've got mentally ill people pushing people in front of trains. It just happened again yesterday. And, they're not doing nothing about this. They're not doing enough as far as I'm concerned. So the laws are just out of whack. But bottom line is, and not to, get too far off topic, these were the same oil stocks that I told you about when I made that video a long time ago. I called it I Am an Oil Man. I made a lot of money off these stocks, and I sold them. And I didn't sell all of them, but I sold a lot of them. I sold large portions so that I could capture gains, because with that Russia-Ukraine thing, I wasn't certain how long it was going to last. I never imagined it was going to last 500 days. But what's ultimately happened, the reason why oil prices, gas prices are back up, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is empty. The government's going to have to refill that reserve, and they're going to have to do it at today's prices, not yesterday's prices. So it's going to cost them a lot more money. They may end up raising taxes somehow. I will say that oil and energy in general, gas stations, oil mining, oil discovery, energy in general, what I love about these stocks is that they pay dividends. Now, these are just a handful of the ones that I have, but these were the most, how should I say, the most profitable ones that I had. If you're in oil or gas and you've been in it for the last couple of months, no matter where you purchased in, you're definitely up. I don't foresee oil and gas going up too much more, not unless something catastrophic happens. Saudi Arabia is cutting back production, and the reason why they're doing this is because it allows them to raise the price, and it makes you pay them more. So this way the sheikh can buy himself a Lamborghini Revuelto, or maybe he could buy 12 of them, I don't know. Maybe he could buy a couple Bugattis based upon how much more you're paying for a gallon of gas. That's pretty much how it works. So the reality is, they're cutting back production. As you know, the sanctions that we put on Russia have only hurt us simply because Russia was sending us cheap gas, cheap natural gas, cheap oil, cheap coal. Specifically, Europe, the EU, they were sending Germany cheap fossil fuels in general. But because we put these sanctions on them, now what Russia's doing is they're turning to North Korea, China, and other parts of Asia, parts of Southeast Asia, and of course their buddies in Belarus, where they're putting nuclear weapons right now, just in case they have to fight NATO. So nobody knows how ugly this is going to get. And I'll tell you like this. If you value your lives and you don't want to see these idiots that are in government put NATO into World War III, you're probably going to want to vote Trump, because the one thing I got to say about Trump, I could say a number of things. I trust him not to put us in another senseless war. How do you feel about Biden, though? Biden's basically started World War III, basically. So if Trump's in office, something tells me NATO's going to suddenly get a pullback, because the thing about it is, I go back to Karen Hunter, and I think about how that idiot is on, Sirius XM, and the day Trump won, oh, we're going to war. And I was like, we're already at war, number one, because we were already in a war that Obama basically put us in. So my thinking is it only got worse under Biden with the, pull out of Afghanistan. But at least when Trump was in office, this guy was actually trying to make peace with North Korea. This guy was actually trying to make peace with Russia. And then all of a sudden, Biden gets in there and all of that just goes to hell. So bottom line is, you should be voting. If you care about energy, if you care about gasoline, if you care about being able to heat your house, if you care about your gas stove, if you care about your gas laundry dryer, if you care about your brick oven, if you care about your charcoal grill, you better be voting Trump, because if you don't, well, you already know what Plan B is. Plan B is real ugly. It's real ugly. It involves you losing all your shit and possibly being in a war, another war, God knows, because this is how they roll. These guys are terrible. But this is the Biden economy. And, some people on YouTube, they don't want to get political. They want to talk about stocks. They don't want to get political. No. These stocks are all consequences of you voting that way. So I think it's time for you to change the way you vote, especially if you value your pockets.